Welcome to Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.
Welcome in to another edition of Around the House Northwest here on Fox 12 Plus. I'm Eric G. Coming up on today's show, we'll stop by Building Materials Resources to talk doors and see how leather boots are made out of the Truman Boot Factory in Eugene. We'll also check out the latest trends in brick, stone, and patio blocks at Mutual Materials. But first, we always kick off the show with our Perform Like a Pro segment. I needed a new interior stair railing to open up the space in my house and give it a whole new look.
Now it's time for Perform Like a Pro.
Hey guys, today we're gonna put the railing up here on my staircase and I'm excited to do it. What we're doing today is we're gonna be putting in this Rail Effects kit. This is actually made for an exterior deck, but it's durable enough I'm gonna be using it inside anyway. First thing, let's put some posts together. Let's have some fun. All right guys, we have one of the end posts here and they come with the base unattached in case we have to cut it down, but right now we're gonna assemble this. So we're gonna take this plate and line it up with the holes that are in the corner. And then they have these self-tapping screws right here. We're gonna put in here. You can use a socket wrench, but this tool makes it just a little bit easier. I got one started and I'm gonna get the other one here so it doesn't spin the top around on this. All right guys, a couple things on the post. This is an end post here, which means the cables that are gonna be part of this cable railing system have to lock into this. So make sure you're using the right posts in the right spot. There's intermediate posts that go in between and there's one on the ends. And this one is specifically designed for right here at the bottom of the stairs. First thing though, we're gonna bolt these down and that way we can get our measurements and start cutting the top of the post off. All right guys, the last thing I wanna do is crack this trim and have to start on over. I have more to do with it, so I'm gonna actually drill the hole a little bit larger through the trim and then change drill bits to a smaller one so that way the lag bolts that hold this down have something to grip a hold of, but I don't blow the trim out and have to do that all over again. All right guys, we're gonna put these lag bolts in. I'm using some shorter ones on this application right here because we don't have that much meat to grab a hold of, but there's these little washers that go on here and that's a decorative cap that goes over the outside of this, so make sure you put that on correctly with the ridge on the upside so it keeps the cap on there. Let's sink these in here. Already leveled the base, so we're good there. All right guys, one little tip, pay attention to these posts on the intermediate ones because they actually have the angle of the staircase going down, so there's a high side and a low side because the cable is going through at a 45-degree angle roughly. So just make sure you don't get those backwards because otherwise you're gonna have to take it out and put it all back again. All right guys, our next step is gonna be to cut these posts for the top rail. Now there's a couple things we have to do here. Level doesn't mean anything because we've already got these leveled off, but what we wanna do is have that consistent slope. And because we have cables that'll be going up here, we wanna keep the distance between that top rail and the cable the same. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually measure up from where the top post is up there to the first hole, mark that down all the way down here, and then we can mark it off where we cut it off at an angle so the top rail will fit right over the top of this. Then we can start stringing cable. All right guys, this next step really depends on what tools you have laying around. I've got a digital level that makes it really easy. However, if you don't, no big deal. You can actually just come in some clamps and you can clamp your railing to each one of the posts and just make sure that you've got those equidistant lines. So what we're just trying to make sure is that where the top cable is gonna run, that's the same spacing between that and the top rail that goes off because your eye's gonna catch it. So what I'm gonna do here is just check this out and make sure that we've got all the lines where I want them to be. That's at about 37. And I'm just gonna test it down here to make sure we're good. 37, that's pretty close. All right, my next step, I'm just gonna mark out some tape here and mark my lines and so I can cut these off. Then we get that top rail on. All right guys, now there's a couple ways to do this. You can use the Portaband like this, but if you have a chop saw, just go get a metal blade and you can cut this on that as well. You just have to uninstall the post to do that. This to me is gonna be the easier way because I got the tool. Let's do this. All right guys, that is just dry fit, but now I can make my marks and I'm gonna cut this to length here as well because there's some cool end caps that go on the end of this. Now, the next step is gonna be to go through here and put one screw on either side of this all the way up so this locks in. All right, this next part is arbitrary. Where do you want the handrail to go? I want it to go at least beyond the edge of the steps here. So I'm gonna cut it off right here and I've marked it out so we're square. This is kind of more of a precision cut, a little more so than the top of the post because it was going to be covered. This has a plate going over it, but we got to get it straight. All right, there we go. I'm happy with that. On the top of this will be wood and a plate on the end. That'll look great when it's all done. All right, guys, time to string the cable system, and this is really slick. I like how this works. So we have our end, which is going to go through the post, and I'll show you that in a second. But as you put this through, you're going to go in here, and this is threaded, and we're actually going to give it 3 turns so it grabs in the post, and then we'll string it all the way up. Now when we get to the other end, here, there is this cool little piece that goes in the other end of the post. I'm not going to put it on here now because this is like that little magic fingers trick. Once it grabs onto it, it's got it on there, and then we'll slide that through there, and then I can tighten it up from down here. It's a really cool system. I like how this works. Let's start stringing cable. Now just string the cable up through the holes. All right, gonna put the little Delrin washer on the inside of this. And then all we have to do is this has a little tiny piece on the inside that snags the cable as we push it through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, and there's 1 cable, 9 more to do. All right, guys, you gotta follow the directions on tightening these things, and I have more cables to install here, but you start out in the middle and work your way out, and then to tighten it, you just put your hex screw in here, and we just tighten it up like this. Kind of like tuning a guitar. We just need to get it strong enough that it doesn't droop, and as you go through this process, some will loosen up, some will tighten up, but it's an easy, and it's the fun part of the job at the end. All right, guys, I got more cables to string and some wood to finish, but you know something? This is a project you can tackle. It's pretty easy, and it looks killer when it's all said and done.